Kyle, you're angry and confused. Good job. DarbyCast Wildcard Friday. Kyle came back to DarbyCast, came back to work after taking about 6 months off. And what did he open with? That's right. Honesty. An honest disclosure. He's feeling angry. He's feeling confused. Kyle, we're right there with you. It's a upsetting and confusing world. And I know how you're feeling if you're listening to this right now. Part of you is feeling excited. You're saying, Yahoo, the DarbyCast, it's back. And we all feel that way, but you're probably feeling a little bit like one of the Scooby Doo kids on that troupe of crime stoppers. Now, for our younger listeners who might not know who Scooby Doo is a Great Dane who smokes a lot of pot. And he has his best pal, Shaggy Rogers. You've got Fred Jones, confident guy. Daphne Blake, kind of the smoke show of the group. And then you got Velma Dinkley, who's lesbian looking, but not actually a lesbian. If she finds the right guy, it's totally going to unlock some kind of femininity in her that she didn't know she had. She'll raise a strong Christian family. We like Velma. Everybody says, ew, Velma. She wears sweaters and glasses, and her haircut is more appropriate for a different time period, maybe the 70s. That's when the show was made, Kyle. So that's not a legitimate critique. But there's a lot going on in the world, right? And you probably feel like one of these characters if you're listening to this right now. You might feel like a Great Dane, stoner with arthritis. Great Danes, so amazing, but they have joint trouble like nobody's business. You might be feeling like Shaggy. You might be feeling like a guy with a pot habit that's really not okay. You're coming to grips with needing to dial it back, right? Nobody's confronting Shaggy, but Shaggy's got to confront himself a little bit. Maybe take a look in the mirror and say, what's all this for? I'm not present at all. I'm not helping my friends out. I'm useless. I'm starting to gain weight. I'm getting a little bit older. The weed products now, I think, give you schizophrenia. That's where I'm headed. That's what Shaggy says, if he was being honest with himself. Turns to Scooby, says, Zoinks, I think I'm about to have schizophrenia. And that's going to make everything impossible. We're not going to be able to solve a single thing because my mind's going to be playing tricks on me. Great self-awareness if Shaggy can do that. Fred, if you've got the Fred archetype, if you're listening to this and you're a jacked leader, you're probably feeling tired that all the mysteries these days, you're in this Groundhog Day kind of Twilight Zone mystery where all of the Scooby Doo mysteries, whenever you do the unmasking, it's always fucking George Soros. And we've taken Soros to the police. And the police chief's like, good work, gang. Tremendous job. We got this dirtbag. And you know, Scooby and the gang in the early show, they were apprehending mainly bored senior citizens who were scaring people just to get a thrill. And I don't know whether that's the same impulse in George Soros. I think in Soros, it's a little bit darker. So this doesn't totally parallel the show. Soros is way worse, right? Where he's going to destabilize your currency and like flood your country with the third world and finance AI algorithms to track everybody and drive people insane, especially people like Shaggy. Imagine being a pothead with an impulse for justice. How screwed are you with the way social media is now? You could just get down so many rabbit holes. And then you're a flat earther and everything is so out of line. But I would imagine a lot of you are feeling like Fred, because George Soros, every time there's a problem in the world, there's a chemical spill, there's a social disruption, there's protests. You're like, whoa, it's Soros again, no way. And you want to take him to the cops and you want to give him to the chief of police and say, dead to rights, open and shut case. We've got the documents supporting everything. We have so much evidence. It's Soros. Book him. And then you hand him over to the chief of police, and what happens? The chief of police says, oh, well, thank you. And then he takes Soros into the back room, uncuffs him, and then they have finger sandwiches together. And George Soros pays the chief of police, and he gets let go. And that's it. Every day. You know, in the show Scooby Doo, Kyle, all of those solved mysteries, it changed things. A haunted mansion occupied by a cagey senior citizen trying to play goofs on people became just an empty mansion where maybe a Christian family could buy it below market rate and start a family. That was the difference. And justice occurred, Kyle. Justice occurred. But no more. No. The schemes, Kyle, they're always Soros-centric, right? And he's got his supporting dirtbags, the Sam Altmans of the world, developing gay rapist robots to harm people. In the past, when a senior citizen wanted to cause havoc through fear by wearing a costume in a small town, if you got them, that was the end of it. Now, they're going to have costumed robots that are gay rapists. And some of you right now are wondering, how do you make a robot gay? And isn't it obvious? You spill a wine cooler on the circuit board while you're constructing it. And if you confronted Sam Altman and you said to him, hey, are you spilling wine coolers on accident? He would say, yeah, it was an accident, but it's not. He's doing it on purpose. They probably have a key lime wine cooler vat at OpenAI where they're building murder robots to squat in properties and drive down the value of an entire neighborhood. So then BlackRock can come in and buy the whole place up, pennies on the dollar. This is what it feels like to be a Crime Stopper now, is to have this knowledge of the way things are going and to feel a little bit helpless. What do you even do? The police chief, totally compromised, can be bribed, drop of a hat. George Soros, ultimate bad guy, way more ambitious than the bad guys of Scooby Doo of years past. And he's got an entire supporting cast, mainly technologists, evil technologists who are homosexuals. Sam Altman. That's a nightmare. What are you supposed to do as a crime-stopping aficionado, Kyle, with a Great Dane who's got joint issues? This whole thing, it's a stacked deck. And I think about this all the time, as I know you do too. Maybe you're listening to this and you feel like Daphne Blake. Maybe you're a woman listening to this and you're like, I'm such a smoke show. Do I move on with my life, though? Like, this justice system is cooked. This Epstein thing's not going anywhere. George Soros is probably behind that. It's scaring people. What do we do? That's your question if you're listening to this. Everybody is being driven insane, especially the Crime Stoppers. They want you to feel angry and depleted, Kyle. They want you to feel like a broken down Great Dane who's 4 years old, 5 years old, which is like a million in Great Dane years. You could barely get out of bed in the morning. You're so depressed. You're not your former self. And you're upset at Shaggy, who's smoking pot, right, Kyle? Because he's supposed to be your owner, and it's like, you're not a very good dog owner, Shaggy. You're schizo now. You're fucking schizo, and you have all these really bogus ideas. Just stick to the facts. We know what's going on. We know it's Soros. What do? We can't apprehend him. Do we build robots to defeat Soros's Sam Altman robots? Maybe. We've done an episode about this before. It's episode 188, Robot Threats, where we take a deep dive into what defeating robots really looks like. And you're never going to have access to robots, right? They're going to be centralized minions who are gay rapists. And if you get out of line for even a second, Kyle, say goodbye to your bottom. They're going to just, oh, what a crafty robot they're going to have to hurt you. So bleak is the outlook of you if you're listening to this. If you're a Crime Stopper and you know about feminism and weaponized immigration and the Epstein whodunit and George Soros and Sam Altman and the AI security surveillance whodunit that's being built. We're all on lists, right, Kyle? Especially you. You've been pretty loose. You don't use a VPN. And most podcasts would pivot right now and promote a VPN, but we don't. We're not aligned with the VPNs. Because we just don't care anymore, do we, Kyle? Whatever. Put us on the list. Deep down, Kyle, the thing that gives us hope is, of course, our Lord and Savior, Jesus. And knowing that these wicked jerks will not prevail. They won't. What a lame goal Soros has. Take over the world and ruin it? Who wants to buy a Chuck E. Cheese and turn it into like a B-side Chuck E. Cheese? That kind of seems like what Soros is doing. Picture the United States as a thriving Chuck E. Cheese, Kyle. Great pizza, better music, even better relationships. Everybody is having a good time. And then Soros comes in and he buys it and he does away with the rat band and fires Chucky, and it's all gay robot bands now, and they're just playing Cher on repeat. Chucky and his band have been replaced by Somalis, mechanized robotic Somalis that steal from you, and they play Cher on repeat. That's hell, by the way, in case you were wondering. Mechanized Somali thieves enhanced with ChatGPT, so they're also gay rapists. Spill a little bit of wine cooler on that circuit board? Whew, no thanks. So this Chuck E. Cheese, they try to call it Chuck E. Cheese, but it's not really Chuck E. Cheese anymore. They don't serve pizza. They serve Monster Energy drink and fentanyl. And the manager of what used to be a Chuck E. Cheese is just this total coward who's like, yeah, it's still the same Chuck E. Cheese that you know and love. And it's like, no, it's not. I don't want to take my kids here. This place sucks now. How dare you call it Chuck E. Cheese? How dare you take it over and ruin it? And then have the balls to call it Chuck E. Cheese still. Where's Chucky? You've replaced everybody. And the menu is full of foreign food that nobody likes, and it gives you diarrhea. That's not ideal, in case anybody was wondering. In case anybody was mulling that over in their head and saying, is this better? No, you idiot. But that's what's happening. And it stinks all the way to the top because you want to go to Chuck E. Cheese corporate, right? Let's still kind of pretend we're in a Scooby Doo whodunit and we're all in the gang. Scooby's joints are so out of whack, and we trot into this, what used to be a Chuck E. Cheese, and it's just like hell. And we're like, we have the right mind to go to corporate about this. So we go to Chuck E. Cheese corporate, and there's a ghost of Robert E. Lee covered in cobwebs, and we unmask him, and it's George Soros. And we're like, all right, we're taking you to Interpol. This is a crime against humanity. It will not stand. You're running a child prostitution ring out of this Chuck E. Cheese. You're doing human trafficking. You're funneling campaign donations to candidates that are so America last through Chuck E. Cheese. This sucks. I'm sorry, but you've been unmasked. You're not the ghost of Robert E. Lee covered in cobwebs. You're George Soros, and we knew it all along. That would feel good. That would feel really good to be in that space. But then you take George Soros to Interpol and you leave him with him and you think something good's going to happen. And like they're really going to throw the book at him. But then nothing happens, Kyle. Everybody just gets marked for surveillance, our whole Crime Stopping Scooby Doo crew. And George Soros is released and Interpol is compromised. And then we're like, what? Who do we even bargain with about this? This is obviously not good. So we try to send Trump a DM and he's like, thanks a lot, guys, but there's nothing I can do about it either. It's like, what do you mean there's nothing you can do about it? Aren't you the fucking president? Like, this isn't just a Chuck E. Cheese issue. This is happening to Bed Bath & Beyond as well. They don't even sell beds there. They're selling rusty needles. And it's George Soros, again, at Bed Bath & Beyond corporate. So I don't really know what you do for this, by the way. I haven't figured this out. I have ideas, but none of them are like shareable on a recording. They're all pretty extreme. And maybe you've had those thoughts too if you're listening to this. And then your friends, if you try to share it with them, they'll say, oh no, Chuck E. Cheese is the same as it's always been. Chuck E. Cheese has always had child prostitutes and Somali gay rapist robots that sing Cher exclusively. And it's like, what? No. Doesn't anybody else see it? Things are getting worse. Things are getting way worse. Why can't you acknowledge it? You go to your spouse, you go to your girlfriend or your boyfriend, if you're a gal listening to this, your husband, whatever, and you say, hey, you've noticed the Chuck E. Cheese's, something has changed about the culture, and I don't think it was an accident, and I think eventually something way worse than this is going to happen. I think they're planning something. And then your significant other says, who's they? And then you just cry out, it's Soros. And then your spouse says, I love George Soros. And then it turns out your spouse is a robot. Your spouse has been replaced by a Somali robot and you just didn't realize it. You've been so overwhelmed trying to figure out this Chuck E. Cheese thing that you didn't even realize that your spouse is black now and looks like the villain from Captain Phillips. And you say, are you my spouse? And then they say, look at me, I am Cher now. Do you believe in life after love? And then they inject you with fentanyl and tell you about Pride Month. And you're like, no! That's the life of a Scooby Doo mystery solver now, unfortunately, Kyle. And I don't know what you do about it. I mean, I kind of know, but it's like not chill. It's not chill at all. But that's what happens in countries where there's widespread corruption and lawlessness. If there's no justice system, then unfortunately you got to correct things yourself. And nobody's really prepared for anything like that. I don't want to do that, right? I have no interest in taking down gay robots and unmasking George Soros. It's a tall ask. It's a tall ask of all of us. There's a lot of corruption, Kyle. I don't know if I'm going to be able to land this plane with like legal, peaceful thoughts other than go to church, team up with people, and hopefully the people in your church haven't been turned into gay Somali rapist bots. Hopefully they're still normal people. Wouldn't that be a nightmare? You just go to church one day and your whole church is full of people from around the world singing in their own language. They're all singing Cher instead of like worship music. So intense. And I think that's where things are going, unless people say things are not right. Things are, in fact, wrong, Kyle. A lot of people are getting pushed around. A lot of people are cowards. A lot of people don't have the stones, the grapes, the eggs to say, I prefer the old Chuck E. Cheese, and in no way is this new Chuck E. Cheese thing fooling anybody. Like, I don't know why this is happening all the way. I have a hunch. I think this is bad. I can see that it's bad. I don't know all the particularities, but I'm going to stand up and I'm going to say no. And if I have to go to Interpol, if I have to DM Trump, I'll do it. And if that doesn't work, then I guess we're just going to have to apprehend robots and George Soros and do it ourselves. Apprehend. Keep this on the level. If you're listening to this, don't make call outs that are too intense. Just keep it in a good range. Say, I think we should apprehend the robots and the people building the robots and the foreign legions of people who refuse to assimilate and are forming these ethnic crime mafias. We should arrest them. That's your key phrase. Because Scooby Doo, those kids were not killers. They weren't mercenaries. And that wasn't the times in the 70s. There was like a criminal justice system when things worked. If somebody did something bad, you gathered evidence, you took them to the cops, they went to jail. That's not the case anymore. And the crimes are so much bigger. They're so much bigger. It kind of blows the mind when you think about the crimes that are being exacted on the American public now, just being looted through foreign wars, Ukraine, the Middle East. Everybody's being driven insane on their phones. They're just getting way too much information and everybody's shutting down. And people are barely exercising anymore. One of the best things you can do, Kyle, if you're in a crime stopping lane and maybe that's one of your hobbies, is figuring things out, unmasking George Soros at every turn and letting people know about it. You got to go to the gym. You got to go to the gym and church. Because eventually you're going to get exhausted. I think that's another big piece of the whole Chuck E. Cheese takeover is the ceaseless propaganda campaigns to try to convince everybody that they're moral failures for noticing that Chuck E. Cheese is no longer Chuck E. Cheese. It drives people wild. So you got to leave your phone at home and just go to the gym and you go to church and you find like-minded people who have a keen understanding of right and wrong and speaking truth to power. Christians know how to speak truth to power and follow the Lord and not get bogged down by everything going on in the world. You want to link up with Christians and you want to lift weights. That's my advice for people who are in this lane right now. If you've noticed that Chuck E. Cheese is not on the level, this is kind of the perfect analogy for our entire country, right? They've taken the sign down. They're flying an Islamic flag over Chuck E. Cheese. There's prostitution happening there, fentanyl. They don't even accept the dollar there. And you're like, what is this? If you're one of those people, welcome to the DarbyCast. You've belonged here the entire time, and I'm sorry it's taken you so long to find this. Also, I'm sorry that Kyle took so much time off. I've missed you. Kyle's missed you. We've missed each other. It's okay to say that. But keep yourself in a good lane if you're listening to this, because chances are this is going to go on for a while. You're going to notice more and more restaurant chains are pushing prostitution. And they're going to have advertising campaigns that say, yeah, Burger King was always a whorehouse. What are you, insane? No. You know what's going on. If you're listening to this, you probably know what's going on. And you've known for quite some time and things are just ramping up. and you know enough. You know enough. And you're not a bad person at all for looking around and saying, this sucks. I like Chuck E. Cheese when they had a ball pit, not full of razor blades and pride flags. There's no problems to say that. If you feel that way, speak up and keep yourself in a good lane. You can't do it alone. Without community, without support, you're screwed. You're screwed. That's the last thing anybody in the Scooby Doo crew would have done. Shaggy, Fred, Daphne, lesbian-looking Velma, not a lesbian though. The worst thing that they could possibly do, Kyle, try to start their own thing, exclusively doing it online. Trying to do it all online, all by themselves. That's a recipe for losing it. Losing enthusiasm, maybe losing your mind. So get offline, lift weights, go to church, find like-minded people. I think I need to make a t-shirt so Crime Stoppers can find one another easily without drawing too much attention to themselves. Kyle, you know the no smoking symbol, the little red thing with the diagonal red line, red circle with the red line through the middle? What if we just made a t-shirt, sold it on DarbyCast.com that just had black t-shirt, white letters, Soros, over the top, red symbol saying, no, get it out, forbidden. That'd be a cool thing. I think people would accuse you of something, but who cares? Just wear your anti-Soros t-shirt. Make a friend. People don't know how to build in-person trust networks, and I don't think there's any better way to build an in-person trust network than if you saw somebody wearing an anti-George Soros t-shirt. You know that's a friend. You know that's somebody who can't stand share. You know that's somebody who wants to make a recommendation to Interpol, but knows that, hey, they might be compromised. FBI might be compromised. CIA, NSA, in-person community. Finding like-minded leaders through anti-Soros merch. Kyle, this is our next big project. I've been thinking about this for so long. How do you signal to people that you know what's been going down and that this corruption goes all the way to the top? Potentially. Anti-Soros merch. But that's going to do it for DarbyCast Wildcard Friday. Welcome back. Also, if you're new here, I'm sorry that it took you this long to find this. Boom, gotcha.